What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV here, back here with another opposition preview. I've got Diyar from Back of the Nest podcast, Crystal Palace fan channel. How are you doing, Diyar?
I'm doing well. If you exclude Palace from it, yeah, I'm fine.
So obviously, Spurs Palace, last game of the season, Sunday at Selhurst Park. You have lost your last 7 games on the bounce. But before the kind of season took their break, Palace were actually having a not bad season. I thought you were doing all right. Tell me, how do you talk about this season? What do you think's gone wrong for Palace?
It's been a weird season. Even when we've done well, it's not like we played great football. We just managed to pick up points out of nowhere. And looking at the table, all of a sudden you're looking at potentially European spots, and it's never felt that way. It really hasn't at Palace. So it's been a weird season in that aspect. I mean, we have somehow managed to pick up points, but since the restart, I think the cracks have opened up really for Roy Hodgson. It's just been too negative, and he doesn't have no plan B. And when I mean this, it's even with substitutions. I can tell you the upcoming substitution for the Tottenham game already, because he's that predictable. And in what minute they are, he will probably bring on Max Meyer in 86 minute. It's so simple like that. So you can watch Palace from a couple months ago, and you can still plan for this game. And I feel like it's caught up to Palace, and it's caught up to Roy Hodgson. And we've only scored 4 goals and conceded 17 goals since the restart. It's really, really negative from Palace.
Well, I hope Jose Mourinho is listening to that. You see, the Palace subs have been aired on We Are Tottenham TV before anywhere else. No, I'm joking. But do you think he's the man to take you forward?
I don't think so. The reason for that is, look, we have stayed up comfortably this season, and we've had no problems for survival. But we want to do something different as a club, and that's not to go and compete for Champions League or European spots. Don't get me wrong, but we're trying to bring in youth to the team. And Roy Hodgson doesn't like youth. He just doesn't. He played Tyreek Mitchell the other week because he had no other options, and he's even come out and said it. Right now, we've got nothing to play for. You can look at the league table. But Roy Hodgson, despite that, has still said we cannot give youth the chance because right now is not the time. Well, if right now is not the time, then when is the time? We just signed Nathan Ferguson the other day. So the long-term plans of the club does not align with Roy Hodgson's plan. He prefers experience. We've got one of the most aging squads in the Premier League, if not the most. So in the long-term future, I am really worried, even next season, if Roy Hodgson's at the club, because I feel like he's lost the fans and the players as well, because the players are not playing for him anymore. And yeah, I just don't see it working. He's got one more year left in his contract, and after that year, then yes, he could potentially leave, but maybe sooner than that. Maybe there's summer that he needs to go, and we need to restart and re-envision the club, because right now where it's heading is really negative, and I am genuinely worried next season if he's at the club.
Do you think that there's an argument to be had that, look, last 7 games you had nothing to play for really? Squad kind of on the beach already on their summer holidays. Is that kind of as an excuse, or is Roy Hodgson? Do you not accept those excuses?
I don't know. That's a valid excuse there. But when you can't come out in public and say that you're just trying to get through these games. If you're giving that message to the fans, then God knows what you're giving to the players. And can I really blame the players for not really performing as good as they have done in the previous games? No, I can't, because if you've got a manager who is not inspiring, then why on earth would you be inspired? Because he's the main man that's leading you. He's sending the messages out there. So I think that's a very poor excuse, because we're in the Premier League. We're a Premier League club, and Roy Hodgson has spoken about it many times. He has said that he wants to finish in the top half. So yes, we might not be able to get top spots in terms of European qualifications, but 3-4 games ago, if we still won a couple games, we might be, close to top half finish. But nothing. He just gave up, and I'm not having a manager that just gives up on the team. That's not the right message to send to the players. So yeah, it's a valid point, but I still see it as a poor excuse from a Premier League club, and Roy Hodgson, who has managed for so long. He shouldn't be giving out a message like that.
Yeah, no, I think you're completely right. But when you look at Roy Hodgson, if he's not the answer, what kind of style manager would you like to bring in?
Look, I want to be realistic here. I'm not going to say let's bring in Pochettino or someone like
I knew you. I knew you were going to mention it somehow.
No, yeah, I'm not going. I'm not going to say Pochettino. Look, even someone like Sean Dyche. It sounds weird, but what he's done at Burnley with the squad that he's got, they're not the most exciting squad out there. Don't get me wrong. They have got some good players like Dwight McNeil and Tarkowski, but when you look at squad to squad, I was talking to a Burnley fan. He said that your squad is probably better than ours, and it's a London club. It might be the right move for Sean Dyche, especially if he gets back to right now. That's what Palace are trying to do by bringing in more youth. So someone like Sean Dyche, who the tactics don't seem so exciting, but I've actually looked into it and he does change it about a bit, which many fans don't notice. So yeah, Sean Dyche type of caliber manager would be right for Palace. Also, it'd be good if we go foreign, but I just don't see that happening with Palace after what happened with Frank de Boer, who came in and after 4 games he got sacked. So I don't see the club heading that way. But yeah, just someone different, someone who is going to play a different style of football, someone who's going to change it about when it's not working, and someone who's going to inspire these players. Roy Hodgson right now, he's not doing that. He really isn't. And he has kept us up. Thank you for that. But I think it's time for a change.
And when looking at your star man, Wilfried Zaha, obviously, I don't think he's had such a great season this year. There's been rumours of him coming to Spurs, going to Arsenal, and what have you. How do you assess his season? And do you think you can keep hold of him this summer?
So what happened with Wilf last summer? Let's go back to last summer. Is he handed in a transfer request on the final day of the window? That's when you know he wants to leave the club because he's never done that before. There's been rumours, but he's never handed in a transfer request. So that happens, and then we start the season. He starts the season off slowly, but as the season goes on, look, he hasn't scored goals and got assists. But I've noticed one thing: he's been asked to do something which he isn't used to. Under Roy Hodgson, he's been asked to defend a lot. And I feel like that's took out the creative spark off of him. And over the last 2 games, he's been played as a striker. So it's only changed over the last 2 games, and he's looked way better going forward. So I think tactically, even when you take out our greatest threat going forward, like Wilfried Zaha, out of the game by your tactics, you just lost. You can't win because Palace rely on Wilfried Zaha to be that magic man going forward. But if you're relying on Wilfried Zaha to be this defensive guy and go back and track back and do all them duties, then of course you're not going to score goals. And when you look at this season, we haven't scored more than 2 goals in 1 game in the Premier League and have still managed to stay up. And that's a record. That's a record ever. No team has ever done that. So I think as a whole, defensively, we've been good for the majority of the season, if we forget about the restart. But going forward, we have struggled. And one reason for that is Wilfried Zaha. Look, he can play better in certain games, but still, the tactics have been negative towards him. At times, we've over-relied on him. We know that teams are going to triple team on him, but, still, we still rely and focus on Wilfried Zaha rather than switching out, going to the right-hand side or focus on someone else. So, over-reliance on Wilfried Zaha hasn't helped him. The tactics hasn't helped him. And yeah, I feel like he just had a negative season as a whole. We expect him to score more goals and get more assists.
And you think you can keep hold of him this summer?
It's a weird one. I thought before the COVID-19 pandemic, he was going to go this summer, but I'm not too sure if any club would come and pay for him because we want still around 60 million region. And if you ask me, if I'm another team looking at Wilfried Zaha, do I think he's worth that much? He's not. He's not. You look at his production, he hasn't first of all, he hasn't performed as well. And also, he hasn't got the goals and assists to be a £60 million player. But as crazy as it might sound, to Palace, he is in a way because he's our only man going forward. He can change and, he can change the game. So for us, I understand why we value him that much, but I also understand why clubs wouldn't come for him. So I don't know. I really don't have an answer for that. There's been reports that suggesting that there's going to be a long transfer window ahead. Lots of clubs are after Wilfried Zaha. But maybe the price may put off clubs, especially with what's going on with the COVID-19 and the financial uncertainties.
Yeah, I felt he even could have decreased in value over this season. And another year down on his contract as well. I'm not sure how long he's got left, but
he's signed a 5-year contract. I think it goes up to 2023, so he's still got a while.
Yeah,
he's still got a while in his contract. So maybe if he had a year or two, then yeah, his value would drop. But I really don't think Palace are looking forward to selling Wilfried Zaha right now. Keep Wilfried Zaha, and if we're keeping Roy Hodgson, he will maybe keep us up in the Premier League, even though I'm not as confident as I was, this season. And then after bringing a new manager, and maybe convince Wilf to stay if he can play different type of football, have some young players in the squad. So I think Palace will be trying their best to hold on to Wilfried Zaha.
And moving on to the game this weekend, how do you feel Palace are going to set up, and how do you look at the game? How's it going to go?
Oh, Palace setting up is pretty obvious, really. We're just going to sit back. It'll be a 4-4-2, I reckon. Wilfried Zaha will be up front with Jordan Ayew, and then on the left-hand side, Jeffrey Schlupp started last game against Wolves, so I guess it'll be the same lineup: Jeffrey Schlupp, James McCarthy, one of the most exciting midfielders out there in the Premier League. And then on the right-hand side, your old player Andros Townsend. He will probably start there, and he hasn't really had a good season as well, so this will be a good game for him to end on.
Incoming then.
Yeah, hopefully. He's been a weird season for him. I don't know what's gone wrong, but he hasn't really started every game, and when he has, he just hasn't performed as well as he has in the previous seasons. And in defence, so it'll be Joe Ward as right back, and then at centre back it'll be Scott Dan, and I'm not too sure who'll be the other pairing because Mamadou Sakho went off injured, so it might be Cheiko Kouyaté starting at centre back alongside with our youngster Tyreek Mitchell, who made his debut last weekend against Wolves, and in goal Vicente Guaita, who's been probably our Player of the Year contender for Palace. He's been brilliant in goal. So yeah, it'll be 4-4-2 lineup. Just sit back and try to hit you guys in a counter attack. Well, when we say counter attack, it'll only be probably Wilfried Zaha and Jordan Ayew going forward and just hoping for the best. So I don't know. I'm not really positive, as you can hear in my voice, as you can hear what I'm saying. I'm not really positive going into this game. But then again, after the game, I don't know if you guys saw it, Roy Hodgson was actually going at the players. I don't know if that's happened before. BT Sport actually captured it. So hopefully the players might want to respond and we see a whole different game and we actually end up getting a point or two in this game. So hopefully that happens, but I'm not too sure. With what I've seen since the restart, I'm not really that confident.
Well, I'll tell you what, Jose Mourinho did a similar thing after that Sheffield United game when it was a complete disgrace. And since then, we've seemed to have turned a corner. So I know it's the last game of the season, but you never know, it could cause a reaction. But when you look at Spurs, as an outsider looking in, obviously sacked Pochettino, what do you make out of our squad and how we've been under Jose Mourinho?
I think your squad can improve. I think right now with Jose there, I think he's the right man. And there's lots of people from the outside just looking in and saying, oh, Jose has negative tactics. Well, I don't care if he has negative tactics if he's getting your results. Exactly. We talked about it on our show. You've been great defensively and you've been scoring goals. There's no point playing tiki-taka football and then losing games. We've seen it. Norwich, not that they tried that type of football, they tried to be more expressive than they should this season and they struggled. So I think in the long term, keep Jose Mourinho and bring in the players and he can be the man for you going forward. You're going to, of course, have times where you're not performing as well, but you can see it even in the lockdown. Jose, he's out in the park with his players, trying to get them fit. Like, what manager's out there that's that competitive? He's still a competitive manager. He has won. And for you guys, under Pochettino, the only thing that hasn't been positive is trophies. And with Jose, now I'm not saying that's going to happen next season. Maybe it might happen in 2 or 3 seasons. But if you build the right squad and keep him there and try to focus long term with him there, then I think he can be a success and he can get you that trophy that's vitally needed at Tottenham.
You're more positive than most Spurs fans, I'll tell you that. But now, last but not least, I'm going to ask you for a score prediction.
We said it on our one. 2-0 Tottenham. 2-0 Tottenham. Yeah, 2-0 Tottenham. Because I just don't see us scoring goals. You guys have been good defensively, and we have struggled all around the pitch. And hopefully, as you said, Roy Hodgson was going at the players. After the Wolves game, there were pictures out there. Maybe that caused a reaction. Maybe all of this would be rubbish going into this game. Maybe Palace do to actually turn up and be this counter-attacking team that's very good at defensively as well. But I'm just not confident. Over what's happened since the restart, and we've got nothing to play for, I think it'll be another typical game where Palace lose and Tottenham's class will just outshine. So I'll say 2-0 Tottenham for going into this game.
All right, Diyar. I'm going for 1-0. So check out my opposition preview, which will be on the Back on the Nest channel. Link will be in the description below. If you're interested in some great Crystal Palace content, so check that channel out. Diyar, thank you so much for joining me on this opposition preview, and come on you Spurs.
Thank you.